Hello everyone and welcome back to round 5 of this our F1 Racing League season. The Xbox divisions here, both in the same lobby today, divisions 1 and 2, combining once again to fill out the grid as we are a little bit on that weird bubble where it's not quite enough to split the divisions all the time and not quite enough to fill the grid. So if you are interested in joining the racing leagues, we do PC, Xbox, and PS4. You check out the subreddit r/F1 Racing League. You can sign up and join through there. And as you can see, Stainer is on the grid today. This is his first race in the league, so we are definitely adding people as the seasons go on. But now with the divisions 1 and 2 racing together, we are still keeping track of their points scoring separately. And big news out of Division 1 as Kareem has built himself a gaming PC and has moved from the Xbox division over to PC Division 1. So he goes from being the championship leader in Division 1 here of Xbox and moves himself over to PC. And so what that is going to do is that's going to promote Fast 6 driver, who is on 21 points or 26 points, the other Ferrari driver, up into the lead of the Division 1 championship. In second place in the Division 1 Championship is Gallimums5, who is only 7 points back on 19 points of his own. MJ Povey has 18 points, only 1 point back of Gallimums for P3 in the championship. Voki is P4, tied with Quimbulas on 12 points so far this season. Racer04, missing today's race, is only 1 point back on 11 points. Onslaught, 1 further point back on 10. Awakens, who is missing once again, on 9 points. Habsvan Nick on 8 points of his own. And QX Nemesis on 2 points. NGP Racer had a DNF in his only appearance of the season so far. And K3M Rodalos has yet to join us. Even though he had joined us last season, he has yet to partake this year. Season, not year. Same year. Now in Division 2, they are running the current scoring system with 25 points for a win, as opposed to Division 1, who is running the older point scoring system where only the top 8 drivers get points and score 10 points. So the points totals are a little bit larger for that Division 2 group. And Chuck SRQ has a commanding lead so far right now, ahead of Wall Street, who has a 17-point gap. So Chuck on 65 points of his own this season, Wall Street on 48 points. Only 5 points back of them, though, in P3 is El Gloverino, who has 43 points to his name. Alejandro Hayes and AWD Turbo Guy tied on 42 points. Just 1 point back of El Gloverino, so that battle for third place in the championship is quite tight and only a few points back of P2. The Kel 89 has 39 points, only 3 points back of Turbo Guy. MD the First has 25 points. Sam Beam is on 22 points. Calcurto on 18. Then we've got It's Baker on 12 points, and Gibby 32 on 6 points. And we've got Stainer 10. Fit into the Division 2 lineup is on his first appearance of the season. But you can see we've got everybody together in the lobby today. 15 drivers on the grid here at Monza, the Temple of Speed. So should have a pretty good race on our hands today. 2 DRS zones for some overtaking help, but otherwise cars are running very low downforce setups, and people are definitely going to be kind of hanging on through the corners and having to try and make overtakes happen down these long straights. But here we are with Kareem's move over to PC. That has put MJ Povey and Fast 6 driver as the top 2 in the championship at the moment. MJ Povey has missed a race, but the races that he's been a part of has performed very well. 2 wins so far, I believe, this season. Maybe it's just one. Let me double check. He has 1 win so far. 1 win and a P2. And has missed 2 races so far this season. So after only two races, he is 3rd in the championship. Gallimums has had a solid season so far. But Fast 6 driver only missed 1 race so far this year. Picked up a win at the last race in Canada and has put himself on the podium twice more. So he is looking like a man to beat. So as the first time start rolling in, MJ Povey puts himself provisionally on pole. It goes into the 19.071. Fast 6 driver on the Ferrari goes P2 at 19.824, so a bit of a gap there. And you've got Quimbulas in the other Williams on a 120.205. and El Gloverino in the other Ferrari, a Division 2 driver, on a 120.808. So we've got Ferrari and Williams topping the charts together to start this session. Then we've got Onslaught, who's put in a valid time of 121.3. It's Baker's gone 22.2, as has AWD Turbo Guy, only a couple of hundredths of seconds separating them. Here we are with Chuck SRQ. We'll see what his lap time is going to be as he's coming out of Parabolica. We'll see where he can put himself, the Division 2 leader. He's up into P7, a 21.809 overall. So a decent start for him, although Stainer has gone up P5 on a 20.823. So he is just behind El Gloverino, and a couple of Division 2 drivers mixing it up with the Division 1 crew so far, although only 9 of the 15 drivers have set a lap time so far in this event. You'll see a lot of drivers out on that soft compound of tire for this qualifying session. Should be the out-and-out better tire to qualify on. It's unlike the last couple of races in Bahrain and Canada, where there has been a mix of strategies. If you're on where you were on the softs having to do a two-stop strategy, or the mediums you could potentially work a one-stop. Monza is a pretty low degradation track overall, so you're going to pretty much see everybody running a one-stop strategy ideally, and qualifying on that soft compounded tire. The medium tire in qualifying trim is going to be roughly around 0.8 of a second slower than the soft, so you shouldn't see too many people trying to make it into the top 10 on that yellow striped medium tire. But here comes Gibby out of the final corner. We've got some yellow flags ahead. It looks like his teammate's out of gas and pulling into the pits quite slowly. And Gibby is going to cross the line, a 22.466, so a couple of tenths back of AWD Turbo Guy. Here we are with the Alfa Romeo of Habs fan Nick as he comes out of the second Lesmo and down the straight headed towards Ascari. Ascari is always a tough corner to manage, very, very fast, and the curbing is not particularly friendly. As you see, actually, he touches it on the exit and has managed to keep the front wing out of the wall. It gets the back end into the wall there, but that's going to end his lap time for sure, so we should see him pull back around into the pit lane, and that's going to let the Red Bull of Gallimooms 5 go right by on his flying lap. We'll see what kind of time he is going to put up as he crosses the line, if he still has a valid lap time available to him. A couple of the fastest sections, and actually it is invalidated as a quick peek of the track map showed that red. So Gallimooms diving into the pit lane. Really, a lot of your lap time is found in the two first chicanes in turns 1 and 2, and then turns 4 and 5. And you really have to straddle the curbs in turns 1 and 4 to really maximize the lap time, but that puts you at risk of overstepping the track limits just a little bit too much and causing an invalidation. And the Lesmos is very risky to run out a little bit wide. Not only does that AstroTurf has a tendency on the exit curbing to catch you out and cause your car to slide, it's also where the track limits can really get you penalty-wise. Lesmo, you've got to really get it down to the apex, otherwise you're going to be losing a lot of time if you're not really leaning into the cambering of those corners. But here we are with Voki coming through into Parabolica. You see that car flick in, that quick change of direction. 4th or 5th gear in that corner, depending on the driver, and it's very quick. And flat out on the exit. And Voki goes provisionally on to pole, goes in 18.948. A stunning time to put himself in the mix for those top spots on the podium as well. With Kareem missing now, we should see drivers like Voki and Gallimooms, Habs fan Nick, MJ Povey, Fast 6 driver, all be more regularly challenging for those podium positions that last season were pretty well locked out by QX Nemesis and Boomtech and Kareem. A few of those guys have moved on to other things, and Kareem into another division, and then Boomtech and Nemesis sitting out this season. Nemesis announcing his retirement from the season after being the defending champion last season. So we'll see. Hopefully he's going to rejoin us again next season around. Should be a good time if we can get that kind of pace back onto the grid and bring that challenge back up. But it's going to allow an opportunity for some other drivers to really shine. The level of competition is definitely raised in Season 2. Drivers have gotten a lot quicker. and then also the ability that everybody had to adapt to the new game. Going from F1 2019 to 2020 gave a lot of drivers kind of a clean slate to get figured out. Here we are on board with Wall Street in the nice black liveried Mercedes of the color change that they went with for this season. But Wall Street, a Division 2 driver on the championship standings, shows flashes of really good pace, has the potential on single lap pace-wise to really fight with some of the Division 1 drivers, both in qualifying and then also setting some of the fastest laps throughout the race. Looks like he's lifted to try and hit a target lap time. Goes at 1:20.0. Really what's held him back so far this season has been a bit of the consistency. He's gotten tangled up into a few events, or incidents rather, and then just had a few self-losses on the racing line. And, being quick is one part of being a Division 1 driver, but being able to do it over and over again is another part of it. As Golly Moom, starting his flying lap, is into a ton of traffic. We've got the Ferrari, we've got the Mercedes of Wall Street, and then you've got an Alpha Tauri out in front of him who appears to be on a flying lap of his own. So it looks like Golly Mooms has navigated that first little bit of action in turns 1 and 2, but if he has more pace than the Alpha Tauri of Baker in front, Baker on a flying lap of his own does not have to get out of the way. He is entitled to setting his own flying lap, and that might be a situation that is going to hold up Golly Mooms, whether he's close enough to actually, be trying to make an overtake. Really, he's going to be affected even at this range by the dirty air in front of him. And as you just watch as he's about to go through Ascari, you see the amount he has to drop off of the throttle. Slows down much more. He's really kind of fighting the car in order to keep it glued down the track. A lot of high downforce corners, Ascari and Parabolica, where you need that downforce, and that dirty air is definitely going to have an impact on his lap time. Golly Moom's one of the last to yet to set a valid lap time. We'll see where he goes with his lap time. Goes P5 overall, 1:20.081. I'm starting to think there was probably a couple of tenths available in that lap if he was able to get out from behind that Alpha Tauri. But as it stands, Habs fan Nick is the only one who has yet to set a valid lap time, and he's on an out lap of his own at the moment. But the rundown as it stands with 6.5 minutes left to go in the session is Voki provisionally on pole, MJ Povey P2, Fast 6 driver in third, Wall Street in fourth, sharing the row with Golly Moons and Cumulus together in row 3. El Gloverino and MD the first carrying out row 4. We got Stainer on his debut P9 with Chuck SRQ in 10th. Onslaught, Baker, AWD Turbo Guy, Gibby, and Habs fan Nick are outside of the top 10 at the moment, with Habs fan Nick the only one yet to set a lap time. This is really our first look at Stainer this season. We haven't had too many opportunities to see him thus far in the practice session, so we'll see what kind of pace he's going to deliver out of the Division 2 group, what kind of strategies he's going to run. But so far, a 20.8 seems to put him right in the thick of the Division 2 fight, so the placement seems to be quite justified. We'll see what his race pace ends up being like. But here we are with Habs fan Nick, who is trying to get a lap time in the bank here, so he isn't starting at the back row of the grid in that Alfa Romeo. His teammate Voki on the pole, provisional pole. So right now, as it stands, the Alfa Romeos are kind of bookending the grid. But we'll see if Habs Nick is going to be able to. He should be able to put himself into a pretty decent level. He's a decent qualifier amongst the Division 1 drivers. And otherwise, El Gloverino and MD the first are on out laps. It looks like Stainer is on either a flying lap or an in lap. It looks like somebody's gone wide. That may be Stainer who is wide. That is that McLaren of Stainer. So a little mistake through Parabolica, it looks like. And he's going to put himself into the penalty. Habs Nick goes up into P4 crossing line, a 119.979. So now Voki and Habs Nick, the two Alfa Romeos, P1 and P4. And Voki just overstepping the track limits there into Ascari. It looks like that will be have enough time to dive into the pit lane, maybe take on another set of tires and go for one more run. We've got MJ Povey, who is coming out of the first chicane only a 10th back of Voki in the best lap category here. So he is going to try and see if he can improve and put himself on pole. Almost a dead heat when it comes to the first sector. 200ths of a second slower the first time out. We'll see if he's able to pick that up through the second sector and also avoid any kind of invalidations and try and put himself onto that pole position that he was gunning for leading into this week. But Voki has been fairly quiet on the Discord chat, and Povi's been a little bit more showing the gusto of trying to get it. But ooh, Voki, or Povi rather, doing the same kind of move that Voki did. Just too much turn in through the first part of Ascari, invalidating that lap time. He was about a 10th down through that second sector split, so he had lost a little bit even more time. He should have just enough time to dive into the pit lanes with that invalidation, get a final set of fresh tires on, and go for one last lap and one last opportunity to try and set a fast time. But here we are with Fast 6 driver coming out of Parabolica here. And he is at a 125, so it looks like he was just doing an outlap to set up, or had an issue somewhere throughout that lap. But he is P3, has not come into the pit lane, so that looks like, unless he is on a flying lap now, going to be his final lap time. MD the first in the nice new white liveried Haas, which apparently white liveries is what everybody thought between the 2019 and 2020 season, because Williams going to that white livery after dropping their rocket sponsor, and then you've got Alpha Tauri, who's gone with a similar white and navy color scheme. And then Alfa Romeo, of course, already had their white livery, and Haas going back to the livery that they had several seasons ago before the whole Rich Energy debacle. So a lot of white cars out on the track. We've got the Ferrari of El Gloverino just behind his teammate on the grid, sharing the second row right now in the both of the Ferraris. But right now, 4 of the top 5 cars are Ferrari power, actually 5 of the top 6 rather, as MD the first also in that Ferrari powered Haas is in P6 at the moment. But with Kareem leaving the championship and leaving Fast 6 driver in the Ferrari, El Gloverino has made his move into the Ferrari for the combined standings. So hopefully they will be able to continue the battle with for the Constructors' Championship in Division 1 and the combined standings. Williams, though, making a move up the table after the last race there, with Quimbulas putting up a solid performance, and MJ Povey also coming up on the podium there. So they're looking to make moves now that Kareem is out. But here we are with Quimbulas coming into the Ascari chicane on his final flying lap on that soft tire, getting it not necessarily running out too wide, seemed to take a relatively safe line through there to try and improve his lap time. He's on a 120.205 that he set at the start of the session, much tighter. You see on the qualifying laps through Parabolica there, normally you'd run it out very wide, but you want to shorten the distance to the line, and he goes 19.6, so improves by 0.6 and puts himself up into P4 and is able to split the Ferraris with only 30 seconds left before the checkered flag starts waving. MJ Povey is just starting a flying lap, so he's managed to get himself in and out of the pits in time to have one more crack at that pole position. But here we are with Gali Mooms, who is a little bit out of position in P9 at the moment, looking to improve on this lap time. Chuck SRQ seems to be happy with his lap time, has retired from the session. His is 20.9. Gali Mooms up 2/10 on his previous best lap, so he will be going into the 19s, projected if he keeps that gapping. House fan Nick sticking with his 19.9. Gali Mooms could jump both Gloverino and House fan Nick. He's kind of on the border depending on how he does in this final sector. If he went just the 2/10 faster, he would put himself ahead of Habs fan Nick, but behind El Gloverino. If he's able to pick up another 10th in this sector, then he'll go up into P5. But looks like he has lost a bit of time. He's barely improved, only a 0.048 improvement that lap. So he stays in the 20s, so not a great final sector for him. MJ Povey hanging out the back end as he's coming through Ascari, catching that slide. Not the fastest way to get through there, so we will see how he's doing when he crosses the line for the final time. Coming through Parabolica, getting that power down and making a beeline for that start-finish line. And he's just going to wrap it up, stick with that 19.045 and wiggle his car out of control and hit the wall rather aggressively. But Voki's in the pit lane, Fast 6 in the pit lane, Quimbulas in the pits, Gloverino all in the pit lane. So the top of the field is pretty much set unless AWD Turbo Guy can pull out an absolute blinder of a final lap and put himself right in the mix there, which is not out of the question. But provisionally, as the checkered flags have been waving, Voki is on pole, sharing the front row with MJ Povey. Only a 10th separated them, and neither could improve on any of their runs. They both set those lap times on their first runs of the day. Then we've got Fast 6 driver in P3, Quimbulas in P4 on the second row of the grid. El Gloverino sharing row number 3 with Habs fan Nick. And that completes 3 teams locking out the top 6 spots. Nobody has locked out a row, but Alfa Romeo, Williams, and Ferrari holding all of the top 6 spots between those teammates. And El Gloverino doing quite well to put himself up in P5 as a Division 2 driver, kind of mixing it up on the one-lap pace with the Division 1 driver. MD the First and Golly Mooms are holding down row number 4. Then we've got Wall Street and Stainer on his debut inside the top 10. Chuck SRQ, Onslaught, AWD Turbo Guy, Baker, and Gibby rounding out the final 5 positions on the grid. As we wait for everybody else to kind of come back into the pit lane and settle down. The strategies we should be seeing, obviously it looks like everybody inside the top 10 has set that lap time on their soft tires. So they'll be starting on those. Now we'll just have to check and see who outside of the top 10 is going to take the gamble onto the medium tires, and still a viable strategy to go medium to soft at the end of the race. If anything, running that medium early may give you some extra options via an early safety car, or changing up your strategy gives you just kind of some extra flexibility. But those on the soft compounded tire, which I expect many will be driving, are going to see their pit window open up around lap 9 to lap 12. And then those that start on the medium tire, we should see them go to lap about 17 or so and do the final 10 lap sprint. 27 lap race here around Monza in Italy. And we have confirmed now Voki on the pole position. Only that one set, but you can see all of the invalidated lap times. And now, with all those lap time invalidations, one thing to be keeping an eye out for during the race is those track limits that cause invalidations during qualifying are going to turn into track limits penalties and warnings throughout the course of the race, where 3 track limits warnings are going to pick you up a 3-second time penalty. So keep an eye out for that over the course of the race. We may see some positions being challenged via the penalty system as opposed to having it settled completely on track. But a couple of things to look out for this race. Voki obviously putting himself on pole position, hopefully trying to put himself in a position for a very good result here. Has picked up a couple of podiums already in this league and is looking to convert that race win there. He was first across the line last race in Canada, but the track limits penalties relegated him behind Fast 6 driver, who is another one to look out for. First race without Kareem as the teammate, taking over that number 1 driver position. We'll see if he is able to rise to that challenge and turn in a good result here. MJ Povey has shown very good race pace throughout the season, so he's another potential favorite for the race win. And then we're also going to keep an eye on Stainer, because he is an unknown quantity in this league so far. So we'll see what kind of positioning he can put himself into. But as Voki leads the cars away from the line here to start the formation lap, you get everybody weaving to get those tires warmed up and to get an idea of how that car is behaving. It looks like only 2 takers for the medium compound outside of the top 10. Chuck SRQ and AWD Turbo Guy, both veterans of Season 1, taking on that second division lead and then going for those medium tires. So look for alternate strategies out of them. Everybody else, though, on the soft compound to start today's race. Weather forecast for the Xbox Division race appears to be clear and dry today, so we aren't looking to see any wet tire strategies. The only thing we're going to have to worry about is potential safety cars. Turn 1 is always a hotbed of incidents with the medium run in there, and then also the very, very heavy braking zone and very tight back and forth of that chicane. Looks like AW Turbo Guy and Baker have come together on the formation lap, so they're going to get a formation lap disqualification and get teleported to the grid, which is not exactly something you can do in real life, but it is going to cost them a little bit of extra opportunity to warm their tires, so they may have a little bit of a tougher time getting off of the grid. However, starting P13 and P14 on the second to last row, likely not a big issue for them coming in. But last few cars coming through to get themselves set up on the grid here. You see the predicted pit stop strategies. Soft onto medium is the one you'll see the most. There is an opportunity for a soft onto hard strategy, but that will likely be a strategy that you are forced to take as opposed to opting for it in normal running conditions. But we've got Voki and Povey both with clear lines ahead of them, looking to find that braking point as they get ready to head down to turn 1. Getting a good start is always important in an F1 race, but getting a clean start is even more important. Getting through those first couple of corners without crashing is important, but here we are. 5 red lights are up. And ooh, Habs fan Nick has jumped the start as the lights go out. He's gotten around Quimulus already. That is going to be a drive-through penalty for him to serve. So he's going to have to push on this lap. But Voki and MJ Povey side by side down the front straight. Side by side into the chicane. It looks like Povey might have gotten the better of him, at least at the early drag there. Voki, though, trying to stick it out around the outside in battle hub. However, Povey's got the inside line. Gibby dropping back a couple of positions. Stainer up 2 positions into P8 at the moment. And Habs fan Nick and MD the first both jumping Quimulus. Habs fan Nick came back onto the track right in front of Quimulus after jumping that start, so it's likely Quimulus has had to kind of check up there. It looks like MD the first has had a bit of an off-track adventure. He's dropped straight to the back of the field, so Habs fan Nick in P4, Quimulus in P5 now, and you can see already a 1.6 second gap between the top 3 drivers and Habs fan Nick falling off, and Quimulus just riding right up behind, less than a half a second behind Habs fan Nick. We've got yellow flags in Sector 2, Baker dropping down the field. It looks like a few cars had their issues, but now we've got both of the Haas's, AWD Turbo Guy and MD the first, both together with its Baker. But the fight up front, only a half a second separating the top 3 cars. A very tight little train here. No DRS available yet, although Fast 6 driver with an excellent exit off of Parabolica there slingshots his way past Voki, although side by side utilizing that overtake mode, and they're going to fight it out into turn 1. It looks like Voki is just going to tuck in as Fast 6 is able to make that pass stick. We've got Habs fan Nick into the pit lane for his penalty there. And it looks like Onslaught has also made a dive into the pit lane. He's jumped our lap count from 1 to 3, and Onslaught's showing in the lead, so it looks like we got a bit of a timing glitch there. MJ Povey is certainly out in the lead of this race over Onslaught, although it looks like a little bit of fighting between Voki and Fast 6 is starting to cost them a little bit of ground on MJ Povey. Only about a second of a gap between those two now, and Quimulus is now 2 seconds back, although he now has Habs fan Nick out of the way and is going to look to close back up to this podium battle that's going on at the front. Golly Moons and Wall Street fighting it out for P8 and P9. Looks like Wall Street's made him move stick there, but Stainer up into P6. A very good start for him early in the stages of this race. There we go. Onslaught dropping back to the back of the grid there, as it looks like our timing screen has fixed itself. Showing properly back on lap 2 with MJ Povey out front, although Fast 6 driver has managed to open up a bit of a gap to Voki. And you see MJ Povey trying to break the toe a little bit as Fast 6 is trying to use that slipstream to close up. Quimulus now 1.6 seconds back of Voki, so catching that group after Habs fan Nick dived out of the way to serve that penalty early on. But Wall Street moving up again into P6 now. Chuck moving past Gibby 32 in P9. AWD Turbo Guy just a couple of tenths back and is now into the points there on lap 3. DRS is now going to be available as they come out of the Lesmos and into the next DRS straight. But we've got yellow flags in Sector 3 and a safety car is out. Safety car is out. Baker has retired from the session. It looks like he's had a crash somewhere in Sector 3, and now is where the choices start to be made. It is very early in the race here, only 3 laps in. But some drivers may be able to take a cheap pit stop. The hard tire will last to the end of the race. It does have enough life. It is just not necessarily the fastest tire. But with the low degradation of the track, it may be an opportunity for some drivers to gamble on going onto that hard tire, or maybe even trying to go for a 2-stop strategy. So we'll keep an eye on the timing tower to see who dives into the pit lanes of that lead group, and really who comes out benefiting from this is Quimulus, who was held up a bit by Habs Van Nick after that jump start, fell about 2.5 seconds back of the lead group and was working to close up to that lead group, but now he is able to take the lead of the race as he stays out. MJ Povey, Fast 6 driver, and Voki, all top 3 drivers, all diving into the pit lanes, making a change of tires. Lots of other cars coming in now. Looks like we've got Stainer, Wall Street, Gloverino, Gallymoons, MD the first, all into the pit lane. The ones who stayed out, Chuck SRQ and AWD Turbo Guy, the only 2 to start on medium tires, rather expectedly have stayed out at this stage. Gibby 32 staying out as well. So that's going to shuffle a few cars out into the lead of the race and into the front of the pack here. Quimulus taking advantage of that and is looking to be sticking to his normal strategy. And now he's got Chuck and AWD, who are both on the slower compound, the medium compound tire behind him, and a few other cars gapping back to his teammate, who is in the effective lead of the race, MJ Povey. And we'll see if we can see what kind of tires that the remaining group has gone on to. But you see the top 4 right now all closed up. MJ Povey only a couple of seconds back, closing up to this group at the safety car as well. Safety car looks to be staying out this lap. The grid has very much not yet grouped up. But now, by staying out, Quimulus is going to need a very good start on the restart and is going to need to build as much of a gap as he can on those soft tires, hoping that the medium tire runners behind him are going to hold up the other cars that were ahead of him in the race and try and build that gap that he can pit into and try and keep that race going. Going on to a hard tire may have been the proper decision for this point in the race, but we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. But under the safety car conditions, right now your running order is Quimulus, Chuck SRQ, AWD Turbo Guy, Gibby 32, MJ Povey, Fast 6 driver, Voki, Habs Fan Nick back up into P8 after his early penalty, Wall Street, Stainer, El Gloverino, MD the first, Gallymoons, and Onslaught. And the only DNF so far, the reason for the safety car, it's Baker, unfortunately. Another race that he is out of. I'm trying to get a look at the tires. It looks like on MJ Povey's car, the second Williams in line, it looks to be some white wall. Yes, white wall hard tires. The next 2 cars, though, Fast 6 driver and Voki, who did pit, are still on that red soft tire. So that means that they are going committed now to a 2-stop strategy, as they have to use 2 different compounds of tires, and one of them being a required compound of either the medium or the hard tire. So they cannot just go soft tire to the end. They're going to have to grab another set of tires. Now, MJ Povey does have the tire life to go to the end of this race, so he will worry about what his battles on track are going to be and not have to worry about finding any new pit windows to get into. But from one Williams in the lead to the other, MJ Povey diving into the pits, Quimulus staying out, handing over from one teammate to the other the lead of the race. The safety car now, according to race control, coming in this lap. So we will keep an eye on Quimulus as he controls the field through Ascari, backing them up and waiting to pick his moment to pounce. Waiting for that safety car to get fully into the pit lane before he goes. Holding a nice steady pace. Getting some weaving and some extra heat into the tires before everybody goes. Ooh, Chuck going a little bit wide on that instance of heating his tires, and that's kind of backed up the field a little bit more. But Quimby still weaving to keep temperature into those tires, trying to get it as heated as it can. And just waiting for him to put the hammer down, and there he goes. He's got the throttle down, and you're going to see the green flags waving as he crosses the line. Safety car is fully pulled off, and we are back to green flag racing. Gibby getting a great run on MJ Povey on the exit there. Povey holding the inside line, trying to defend that position. That hard tire going to be a little bit tougher to get under acceleration, but ooh, Gibby jumping over the curbs. Very, very tough instance to run through there. And ooh, looks like we've got a couple of cars spun in the back there. Another opportunity for a mess in turn one, but Quimby already 2 seconds almost out in front ahead of Chuck SRQ, and MJ Povey battling with Fast 6 driver. He's got the AWD Turbo guy in front of him, but it looks to have gotten an undercut coming out of the De La Rosa chicane, and yes, that is AWD Turbo guy falling back behind MJ Povey, and Fast 6 driver now trying to make his presence known on the inside of the Lesmos, though backs out of it, although looks like AWD has gone very wide on the exit of Lesmos. Fast 6 may be able to slipstream and dive down the inside of Ascari. We'll keep an eye on that battle as it develops, but MJ Povey closing up to Chuck SRQ, the only one separating the two Williams teammates. Stainer in P6, right next to his McLaren teammate of Gibby 32. And we got Fast 6 driver now still fighting it out with AWD Turbo guy. Fast 6 on those fresh, soft tires should be able to get that move done through Parabolic, and he does up the inside through the trees. And now he's going to strike on ahead and try to close that gap back up to MJ Povey, who is making a move down the inside of Chuck SRQ to put himself back into P2 and make it a Williams 1-2. Looks like a little bit of contact. He's gone deep into the first part of the chicane there, and a little bit more contact as they exit turn 2. Just not giving each other enough room there, but looks like nobody has taken too much damage from it. But now we've got a Williams 1-2 out in the lead. Quimby has a 3.4 second lead before the DRS has become available. So doing what he has to on those soft tires out in front to try and build himself a gap to pit back into it. Ooh, Chuck very loose on the exit of the De La Rosa chicane. That's going to let Fast 6 driver through, who is on that soft compound. Very big tire differential between him and MJ Povey. Although Povey does not have to pit to get to the end of this race, Fast 6 driver does, so he's going to want to try and get past MJ Povey as quickly as possible and build that gap and start to chase down Quimby. Voki has dropped down to P9. He looks like he's gotten tangled up in that restart incident in turn 1, so that has definitely compromised his race after being on pole to start this one. A tough circumstance there after pitting and then just getting caught up with all the cars behind. Gali moves up into P8 on the medium compound of tire. He's made a pit stop. I don't believe the mediums are going to make it to the end. He is likely going to have to make another pit stop here, but Voki on those soft tires goes the fastest lap of the race so far. So he's going to try and carve his way back up. You see him just behind Gali Mooms there, trying to close up that 1.3 second gap. And Quimby still holding about 3.4 second lead as Fast 6 driver and MJ Povey now battling it out for P2 and P3. So that is going to give Quimby even more opportunity to open up a little bit of a gap out front if they can keep squabbling. But we've got the Division 2 drivers of Chuck, Stainer, AWD Turbo Guy all up inside, well inside the top 10 of the overall run of this race. Habs Van Nick, Gali Mooms, Voki, and Onslaught, Division 1 drivers that are behind the group of Division 2 drivers. We should see Habs Van Nick and Gali Mooms start to make their way through that group. You can see Habs Van Nick actually already having a look around the outside of AWD Turbo Guy into Ascari, and just gets that one cleared. So a very dangerous move there, but gets that one done as Turbo Guy is on that medium compound of tire from the start of the race there. Chuck has managed to hold his position much better after that restart on that medium tire. And now Voki making his way past Gali Mooms on that soft compound, trying to work his way, and it looks like he's going to go. Habs Van Nick and AWD is still battling it out. The DRS is available for the drivers now, so should be able to see that slipstreaming battle continue to fight on back and forth. Ooh, looks like somebody's gone deep. The Haas of AWD Turbo Guy missed that corner really hard off the track there, and a 10-second time penalty for cutting the first corner, carrying so much speed. Looks like he just straight missed his braking point. He's picked up wing damage from it as well, so that is really going to compromise his ability to turn in good lap times. So he will likely have to make another pit stop, still in the window where going onto the hard tire could get him to the end of this race with that front wing change. Now MJ Povey out in P2, starting to reel in Quimbulas. He is now only 2.6 seconds back, although Fast 6 driver inside of a 10th. So they are still fighting and fighting. We got that lovely audio glitch for AWD Turbo guys. Ooh, it looks like Golly Mooms has gotten into the back of Habstan Nick, and that looks like a front right wing end plate has gone missing for him. So that is going to cost him some pace as well. El Gloverino picking up a 3-second time penalty. We've seen quite a few more coming through, and yes, that's definitely damage on the front wing of Golly Mooms. And that, ooh, looks like Habstan Nick has gone well off the track there. May have hit the wall. He's diving into the pit lanes. It looks like he has had some damage. Getting well outside on Parabolica there. You saw the puffs of gravel as he got well off track there and is having a real rough start to this race. But now we got Voki closing up on Stainer, who pitted as well, following the same strategy as MJ Povey, going on that hard tire and promoting himself up towards the front of the grid. He's going to be able to stay out a lot longer. Voki, though, looking for a place to go by. Stainer quick enough through Curva Grande and into the Del Roja chicane to keep Voki by. But Voki on that tire advantage, really going to be looking for a place to dive and make that move stick. Not quite close enough through the Lesmos, although he will have DRS. And ooh, gets the back end a little bit wild, but he should be able to make this move past Stainer here. Grabbing that slipstream, not using that overtake button, but does have the DRS. He's down the inside. On the brakes, he's going to probably pick up a track limits warning for that, but to make that move stick, he really has to be very close to that track limits. But he's gotten himself by Stainer, so look for him to open up that gap and start to close down Chuck SRQ, who is 2.8 seconds ahead of him. But the lead group, Quimbulas, still holding 2.6 seconds ahead of MJ Povey and Fast 6 driver, who is still trying to find his way past Povey. Might be that Fast 6 is just running too much downforce to really have a tremendous straight line speed advantage, even with that DRS. But MJ Povey really turning in good laps on that hard compound to really just kind of eat into the advantage that soft tire would have on him. But Quimbulas is still out in front. Is lap 11. We should be seeing those who stayed out on the opening stint of softs diving into the pit lane relatively soon. Povey a little wide on the exit of the Del Roja chicane into that gravel trap, but just a little puff of gravel, nothing to be too alarmed about. And they are still about 3 seconds back of Quimbulas, and Gibby picking up a 3-second penalty. So Quimbulas has done well not to lose any positions off of that safety car restart, although has not really built the gap that he necessarily could need to have a free window to pit into. Is definitely going to promote MJ Povey into the lead of the race by a significant margin, although Fast 6 driver taking that P1 from MJ Povey now. After all that defending, Fast 6 has made his way by. So now we'll see if MJ Povey is going to be able to hang with Fast 6, who's running a little wide through Parabolica there, and that is Quimbulas into the pit lane. So he is coming to get his set of tires to go to the end of the race. MJ Povey, though, with the DRS and the overtake, trying to hold the inside line, not letting Fast 6 take that. Moving back to the racing line, well clear of him into the braking zone. So an excellent fight back from Povey, an excellent battle between Fast 6 and MJ Povey overall. And they've got a good 6.5 seconds clear of Chuck SRQ. So we'll keep an eye out, see where Quimbulas comes out of the pit lanes at. Right now he's 10.2 seconds through, and looks like he's out on track now. So 10.6 seconds back of Stainer, who is going to go to the end of this race. Voki, though, and Chuck both still have to make a pit stop, as does Fast 6 driver. So overall, Quimbulas is about 19 seconds back of MJ Povey in the lead there. And so he is within the pit window of Fast 6 driver. When he comes into the pit lane, Quimbulas should be able to jump, although Fast 6 trying to go down the inside. A little bit of contact into Ascari. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 1, although it looks like it's been cleared up pretty quickly. Nobody's dropped too many positions. The Fast 6 driver now making that move stick on MJ Povey. However, MJ Povey going to be picking up some DRS down the main straight once more. So this battle still rages on out front for who can take P1 at this stage of the race. Still 15 laps to go, just shy of the halfway mark. MJ Povey, though, with that DRS wide open, carrying the racing line as Fast 6 has weaved a little bit to cover the inside line, and MJ Povey on the brakes is able to get back by through turns 1 and 2. Looking down the rest of the field, not too many battles going on right now. Chuck is about a second and a half back of Vokey, and Stainer is about another second back of Chuck, so not a tremendous fight going on there, although Stainer closed up significantly, and looks like Chuck has had a bit of a mistake through one of the corners, dropped a good 5/6 there, and that's going to put Stainer right into the DRS range. And Quimbulas now 8.2 seconds back of Stainer on that hard compounded tire is Stainer, and Quimbulas on the medium compound to go to the end of the race here. So we'll see Quimbulas reeling in that Division 2 driver of Stainer, who is on that hard compound. Definitely that strategy has the opportunity to promote him some paces if he can keep good pace up there. But Chuck SRQ, Vokey, and Fast 6 all still have to make a pit stop at some stage of this race. Vokey still about 7.5 seconds back of Fast 6, and Fast 6 into the pit lane. He's making a tire change. I wonder, has he picked up any damage from contact in his fight with MJ Povey? It's pretty early for him to dive. Actually, he's done about 10 laps on those soft tires, so going onto the mediums is pretty reasonable. It was about lap 3 that original change was made, so it's about the life of those soft tires. So he is into the pit lane. Stainer jumps him. Quimbulas goes by. Vokey is also into the pit lane. So yeah, it appears to be both in the window for Vokey and Fast 6 driver to make that work. So they should be on medium tires to the end of the race now, and it'll be just a straight fight if they can take those several lap fresher medium tires and close up the gap to Quimbulas now. We've got about a 6-second gap between Fast 6 driver and Quimbulas is about 6 seconds back of Stainer, who is making a move down the inside of Chuck SRQ, and that fight there is going to really help Quimbulas get involved much sooner than would be expected if they were just running out in clean air. You see Chuck still has a few ups. Ooh, he's gotten a little distracted, it looks like, and gone onto the grass, and that might cost him a position, because Stainer's going to carry that straight line speed down into Ascari. Side by side, Stainer, though, picking up a track limits penalty. 3 warnings, another 3 seconds. He gets that move done. Now, Chuck has got to use a little bit of extra engine mode, a little bit of overtake to stay inside that 1 second gap to try and fight back at Stainer. Quimbulas only 3.7 seconds now of moving up into a podium position on his finishing set of tires. MJ Povey, though, well out in the lead on his tires that he will finish the race on, 13.5 seconds ahead of Stainer, and Chuck SRQ only 1 second back there. So look for Chuck and Stainer to continue to battle it out. And another yellow flag in Sector 3. Looks like MD the first has dropped down the order in the position. We'll see if he's able to get himself back and going. No safety car has been called yet, so he is moving up. You see him crawling slowly there. AWD Turbo guy has gone through as well. With only 12 laps left to go in this 27-lap race, MJ Povey leads from Stainer, Chuck SRQ, Quimbulas, Fast 6 driver, El Gloverino, Vokey, Wall Street, Gollymooms, and Habsfan Nick making up your top 10 at this stage of the race. Gibby, AWD Turbo, MD the first, and Onslaught are your outside the top 10 runners, and Baker the only retirement thus far in the race. Now Quimbulas only 2.4 seconds back of this battle. Being behind a DRS train is not necessarily somewhere you want to be on fresher tires. So he's going to hope that Chuck is going to dive into the pit lanes rather soon here and let him battle Stainer one-on-one. Otherwise, Quimbulas is going to have to make some moves on a couple of cars in order to get himself up to where he is expecting to be in this race. Quimbulas showing very good pace on those medium tires, really ate into that 10-second gap. Not really closing the gap to Povey, though. It's about a 16-second gap now. It was about 18 seconds earlier. So he's closed a little bit of time up. But by the time that those medium tires start to fall off, those hards will still be going quite strong at the tail end of the race. So we should see their lap times kind of stabilize. But the big one to look at, Fast 6 driver, 4.6 seconds back of Quimulus. That could turn into your battle for P2. Voki is 9 seconds back, so is a little bit out of sync there. Barring some mistakes, he will likely be behind Fast 6 and Quimulus at the tail end of this race. Quimulus already inside of that 1 second mark now. You see that DRS open, the overtake mode on for just a second there, but so he's going to settle in, hope that one of them dives into the penalty. They're side by side into Ascari in front of him though. And ooh, Chuck getting a little bit sideways and out of sorts. That's going to allow Quimulus a good run off the exit of Ascari. He's in that slipstream. Using that overtake, he's going to go outside or inside. Quimulus moves to the inside as they hit the braking zone for Parabolica side by side. Little bit of contact as Chuck turns all the way down to the apex. Quimulus able to keep that car from spinning. And now Chuck slowing up and Quimulus hard on the brakes. Chuck diving into the pit lanes, cutting across Quimulus there. Very dangerous. Lucky for Quimulus not to get caught up in a major crash there. Could have been a race ender. But all's well that ends well. Quimulus is through Chuck SRQ and now chasing down Stainer. But what that's done is that made that gap that was around almost 6 seconds to Fast 6 driver. It's only 2.4 seconds now. So a big, big moment that Quimulus had to get on the brakes for has allowed Fast 6 to close it up. And depending on the penalty differential, a 3-second penalty differential could result in the positions being swapped at this stage between Quimulus and Fast 6 driver. Quimulus only 8/10 back of Stainer has closed that gap back up to him relatively quickly, is back in the DRS range there. Fast 6 though nearly in DRS range, has to make up about another 8/10. Now on the medium tire, Quimulus should be able to make fairly short work of Stainer if he's able to get within about a half second in the DRS zone for turn 1. Should be able to use that extra grip through Parabolica. You don't want to follow too closely. Right around 6/10 is a sweet spot for making that overtake happen down the next straight. If you're closer than that, through Parabolica, you can really understeer a lot and lose some pace, but you see the good launch off Parabolica. Quimulus with the DRS open. Stainer trying to fight it back a little bit, but Quimulus able to make that move stick on Stainer. And now Fast 6 driver, 1.8 seconds back of Stainer, so see if he is able to clear Stainer at the same quickness that Quimulus did, or if he's going to have trouble getting by Stainer. Fast 6 is shown not to have the greatest straight line speed today, so it may be an instance. Quimulus picking up a 3-second time penalty. So as I was saying about the penalty differentials, that might come into play here. I believe Fast 6 is carrying a penalty of his own, so they may be just duking it out on track. Although Stainer very wide through the second Lesmo, now trying to get the hammer down. Although Fast 6 driver closing up very rapidly down the hill. Looks like they're going to be side by side going into Ascari. Stainer not backing down. Although squeezed on the inside, Fast 6 able to get that move completed. Stainer, though, right up the gearbox in the slipstream there. And Stainer getting back by as they head down into Parabolica. So Stainer seems to be running a little bit better straight line speed than what Fast 6 is. Although Fast 6 using that extra bit of downforce to fight back. A good little battle between these two, developing Stainer on his league debut. And you got Fast 6 driver looking to follow up his race-winning performance in Canada with another good result. Stainer, ooh, side by side, they make a little bit of contact. Fast 6 is going to have to take a bit of that penalty crossing the line there. So a little bit of elbows out battling between these two. No quarter given, but it looks like Fast 6 has finally put an end to that battle. Stainer on those hard tires really going to be losing out on the pace there. Chuck SRQ, though, now catching up with Gali Mooms in the Red Bull. Only about 1 second separating the two of them, so pretty close battle going on. Not quite just getting inside the DRS range now. He should be able to be in the DRS for Lesmo. Chuck on this soft compound of tires, so he should be able to make it to the end of the race based on when he pitted off of those medium tires and have very good pace the rest of the way while Golly Moons is on that soft, medium tire in front of him. I said just about every other wrong kind of tire compound before I got to the right one. And there's only 3 compounds. But Chuck only 4/10 back, really showing the extra grip that those soft tires can have. He's going to set himself up quite nicely through Parabolica to try and make that move happen into turn 1. A little bit, you see that understeer from the aero washout as he's not able to get all the way down to the apex of Parabolica. Now we'll see if he can utilize that DRS, although Golly Moons early before the DRS opens, stretching that lead out just a couple of half-tenths. And that's going to make him safe into the braking zone of turn 1. Although he's gone a little bit wide on the exit of turn 2, and Chuck really trying to put that throttle down. Wall Street setting the fastest lap of the race on the soft compound tire, 121.97. Golly really just kind of running Chuck a little bit out of road, and Chuck having to back out of that move there. But out in the lead of the race, MJ Povey has dropped down to only 9.6 seconds back there. He may have had a bit of a moment that has eaten into his lead. Fast 6 driver, 3.7 seconds back of Quimbulas. So just outside of that range that they're going to be safe. And Chuck SRQ trying to find a way through, just not quite able to get it. And he's picked up a track limits penalty there while trying to weave and find a door to dive through. Voki up in P4, so about 9 seconds off a fast 6 driver. His race seems to have stabilized a bit. Stainer all the way back in P5 with 5.2 seconds off of Voki. So it looks like he's dropped his way down the grid quite a bit. He should still be out on those hard compound tires, I believe, although it looks like the pace is starting to go away from him in that situation. But the biggest gainer so far today is Stainer, who made that call to dive into the pit lanes under the safety car and put on that hard compounded tire to go to the end, go for that one-stop strategy. Otherwise, Fast 6 and Voki on the 2-stop, Quimbulas and MJ Povey on 1-stoppers of their own. You see Fast 6 driver and Voki both 2 laps fresher tires on those mediums than Quimbulas has. So look for Fast 6 to maybe get inside of that 3-second mark, although with 6 laps left to go, there's still an opportunity for him to get back that position on track. But Chuck and Golly Moon still fighting it out. Habs fan Nick has yet to really recover from the jump start, down in P8 after starting inside the top 5. The top 6, rather. Voki picking up a 3-second track limits penalty there, so that is going to hurt his lap time. Stainer still falling off of that, though. Unless Voki is carrying lots of penalties, Stainer unlikely to jump his position. Chuck, though, still trying to find a way past Golly Moons. Has managed to stay within that 1 second for a very long time, but he just seems to be lacking that little teeny bit of extra top end to make that overtake stick. And the longer this battle goes on, the longer that those soft tires are going to degrade and become tougher and tougher in that dirty air to manage. Here comes Wall Street catching up to El Gloverino, who had a stellar qualifying performance, but has found himself just inside the top 10. Gloverino, though, launching past with the DRS, that soft compounded tire. El Gloverino, though, on that soft compound as well, it would appear. But Wall Street showing some very good pace late in the race here, although it was after he took quite the drop down the grid early in the race. Has 12 seconds to make up to get to Habs fan Nick to try and make another group. Quimbulas, though, with another 3-second time penalty. So it looks like he's going to be carrying a little bit extra and is going to be focusing on staying outside of that 3-second mark to Fast 6. So he's going to have to push on. It's only an 0.8 margin at this stage. Otherwise, Fast 6 has the opportunity to jump Quimbulas. So Quimbulas really going to have to work that gap and manage it. Unlikely to close up to MJ Povey, and realistically is going to be watching the deltas behind to manage that gap. But Chuck still 4/10 back of Golly Moons. Maybe now that we're not watching it, he'll make the overtake happen. But Wall Street trying to rush on ahead and close up to Habs Van Nick. El Glavarino, though, not going away. 6/10 back of Wall Street. As we're headed towards the last 5 laps of the race here, Chuck still trying to make his way through Gali Mooms. And it really could come down just to a setup differential. The amount of wing you're running is very important around you. You may be able to get a little bit better just raw lap time if you are running a higher wing setup. That will definitely help you through Ascari and through the Lesmos. But in a wheel-to-wheel battle situation, having that amount of wing is going to make it very hard for you to have a pace differential in order to make an overtake happen. So that may be what we're seeing here, because Chuck is on a faster compound of tire and had been turning in very good laps to close that gap up, but he seems to have stalled out in the dirty air of Gali Mooms, which is always tough to manage. Up at the front, Quimbula still holding about just about 10 seconds back of Povey, and still 3.8 ahead of Fast 6 driver. He's still very close. Chuck, though, inside 3/10, but you can see just on the regular straight, no DRS, Gali Mooms actually opens the gap, so almost certainly that Chuck is running a lot more downforce than what Gali Mooms is. But you should be able to use the slipstream. If you come in out of Ascari 2/10 back, you may have an opportunity to overtake into Parabolica. He's just not able to get that overspeed and get that move done, although here he's closing up into the braking zone of turn 1. Still not quite close enough. He's just going to have to kind of settle down. At this stage, I would say his soft tires are starting to hit a point of degradation that they are going to be running very similarly to these worn medium tires. But in all of that, Gali Mooms has closed up to Stainer, who has fallen 11.8 seconds off of Voki's pace there. So those hard tires not working for him at this stage of the race, and Gali Mooms is going to be looking to put a little bit of space in. It looks like Chuck has made a mistake somewhere. Has dropped all the way back to 1.8 seconds back. Has closed it back to 1.4, but was well inside the DRS consistently and has lost a fair bit of ground now. Habs Van Nick 1.1 seconds back of Chuck SRQ to make another position on the overall standings. But Gali Mooms now 6/10 back of Stainer, who looks to have had a good exit from Parabolic. For a moment, it looked like he might have gotten a little bit loose. But it looks like Chuck has closed back into that DRS range from Gali Mooms. We'll see if Gali can use the DRS in front of him, though, to his advantage now and make a move happen. See. Very rough exit for Stainer out of Parabolica. Now Gali Mooms with the overtake, with the DRS. Going to look to the inside, a little bit of a pinch down. They're going to go side by side into turn 1. Ooh, big contact side by side as Stainer is right to the apex there and is cut across the nose of Gali Mooms. So not the cleanest of maneuvers there. And one of the things that we do notice when people join into the league, the first couple of races, they tend to drive a little bit like they're against AI. They tend to not leave as much space as required, but they tend to learn pretty quickly how to respect the track ownership of other cars around them. Chuck still hanging on to the back of Gali Mooms there, who is still trying to find a way past Stainer, who is defending for all of his life with only 2 laps left to go. We'll see Gali Mooms not making the lunge up into Ascari, keeping it pretty well stabilized, although it's dropped quite a bit distance, and that's going to let Chuck really slot his way in there. Chuck goes by, although it looks like Gali just kind of holding him alongside on raw pace, and ooh, Gali a little bit deep into Parabolica, nearly makes contact with Chuck. Went deep on the brake zone there, and luckily able to avoid any kind of contact between the two, but that only serves to help Stainer out a little bit as he's holding out in front. But in the lead of the race, Povey still about 11 seconds ahead of Quinlis, who is holding now 4 seconds ahead of Fast 6 driver, so is at least clear of 1 penalty grouping. Voki has closed to about 7.5 seconds back of Fast 6, and then is 15 more seconds to P5 and Stainer. Now, Habs Van Nick is getting involved on this scrap for P5, 6, and 7. Quite the grouping now coming through Lesmo with only 2 more laps left to go, or rather 1.5 laps realistically. It looks like Povey, you see how lap cone tick to 27. Povey has made his start of the final lap, and now here comes Chuck with the overspeed on Stainer. DRS wide open. Gonna have to make this move stick. A little bit of overstepping the curb there, but we've seen it several times through Ascari. You've really got to kind of cut that corner a little bit to make an overtake stick. Although there's quite the clump going now. 2 wide. Gally Mooms thinking about going 3 wide. And oh, Stainer is sideways. Little bit of contact between him and Chuck, and that looks like that sent him around. That has cost him 3 positions as Habsvan, Nick, Gally Mooms, and Chuck all go through on that incident. Just a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact trying to fight through Parabolica, and that has cost him that spot. But now Chuck has made his way past Gally Mooms, and Habsvan Nick right on that group as well, although very slow on the exit there, has dropped a lot of positioning. We'll see if Gally Mooms is able to get past Chuck for that position into P5 overall. It shouldn't be too much longer before we start to see the checkered flags wave. Should be about almost a 30-second differential between this battle, and you see MJ Povey taking the checkered flag for the win here in Monza, or at least crosses the line unless he's carrying a boatload of penalties. This should be coming up shortly after. Crosses the line, it drops to 13.9 seconds back. Fast 6 driver stays 4.1, so they were even on penalties. And then Voki crossing the line P4. And that is going to close out your podium. Nobody else can jump on penalties, otherwise they'd be disqualified. MJ Povey taking the top step. Williams 1-2 with Quimbulas in second, and Fast 6 driver rounding out the podium in P3. Voki in P4. Gally Mooms and Habsvan Nick both jump Chuck SRQ for P5 and 6. Wall Street now coming across in P8. Gibby retiring from the session, unable to finish. Stainer coming across P9. El Gloverino rounding out the top 10 of your overall standings. But that is going to put Chuck SRQ into the Division 2 winners column, with Wall Street and Stainer taking the podium on Stainer's debut here. So that's their Division 2 podium. Onslaught, AWD Turbo Guy, and then MD the first coming across the line to close out the final of your 13 runners. But a Williams 1-2 on the top steps of the podium. MJ Povey taking another win this season, and likely putting himself into an excellent position for the championship lead. Has missed 2 races this season, but seems to be rectifying those ills with his win here today. So overall, that's going to turn the standings into Kareem still on top with 32 points, but he is now tied with his teammate Fast 6 driver, who will continue to pick up points hopefully the rest of this season. MJ Povey is only 4 points back of Fast 6 driver. Gally Mooms 10 points further back. He's on 22 points, 10 points back of the lead. Quimbulas is on 20 points. Voki on 17. Onslaught on 12. Habsvan Nick on 11. Then you've got Racer04, Awakens, and QX Nemesis, the only other drivers to score points in Division 1. And with that result, Chuck SRQ grows his lead in the Division 2. Wall Street keeps himself in P2 with his second place and fastest lap. El Gloverino has jumped into P3 in the championship with his result. AWT Turbo Guy dropped down to P4, only 1 point separating those two. Alejandro Hayes and the Kel, the 2 racing points, did not take part today after having a very good opportunity to be up near the lead of the constructors. MD the first with his P6 is on 33 points. And Stainer, on his debut, gets a Division 2 podium to put himself directly into P10 in the Division 2 championship, ahead of Baker and Gibby. You can see a lot of time penalties and track limits warning throughout the race. Hard to scroll through them all. But that is the end of the race here. We are headed off to Austria next weekend. No more off week. We won't see another off week until the end of October on the Halloween time area. But thank you for joining us once again. Again, if you are looking to enjoy these races and drive in these races, check out the subreddit r/F1 Racing League. Hit the sign up threads there. We're still taking on new drivers in all divisions. We have 3 divisions of PC. We have 2 divisions in Xbox and 1 PlayStation 4 division. But I'll catch you guys next time as we head to the Red Bull Ring. Thank you all for watching. Peace.